Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Combo Breaker 99. I'm back with another video. All right, y'all. Fight week is here. Fight week is here. Mackenzie Dern versus Marina Rodriguez. Major fight for the strawweight division. 5-round main event. This is one of those fights that I've been asking for this year. You know, we got to close this out with some good strawweight fights. Only got one of them. The other two rematches I wanted, y'all know what they were. I didn't get them, but oh well. You know, this is a good fight. This is a big fight. It's a big fight for both Mackenzie Dern and Marina Rodriguez. This fight could possibly lead to a title eliminator match, or whoever wins this fight could get a title shot. You know how UFC politics work. Dern, Rodriguez, however good they look, they could jump ahead of Carlos Esparza. We know that, right? But in order to do that, both fighters, they have to show something different. You know, they got to show some growth. They got to show that they're even better than the last time they got into the octagon. You know, they got to show that they're better than when they were climbing up the rankings. You know, both fighters have strong suits, but this is a fight where I think someone is going to have to bridge that gap. You know, they're going to have to show a plan B or a plan C. They got to have that secondary weapon. We know they got sharp swords, but they need that shield as well. You know, they need to be able to make that strength work in their favor in this fight. You know, I always say Marina Rodriguez, Mackenzie Dern, they both have strong plan A's, but a plan B is something they're going to need. I know a lot of people are labeling this fight striker versus grappler, but who's going to step out of the box? Who's going to have that ability to show something different and make that statement? When you look at Mackenzie Dern, since she's hit the scene, she showcased her BJJ skills with four submission wins in the UFC, 7 total in her MMA career. You know, she's been one to also want to use her hands. She's explosive when she lands. Still a bit sloppy, but that's something she's working on. Marina Rodriguez, she's the total opposite. Solid striker, great Muay Thai, good clinch control, good control of the center of the octagon, but not much of a ground game. So both fighters, they have their signature styles here, and they're going to give us what we expect. But this has to be a fight where they fill in those holes and try to nullify each other and bring something else to the table. Like I said, great plan A's, but they really need plan B's and maybe a C or a D. You never know, right? Going back to Dern, I do think that, you know, she has been showcasing some nice improvements. You know, she has been refining things in her camp, getting her weight down, keeping everything right, you know, putting on muscle, getting that strength right, you know, looking stronger in her last couple fights, you know, also getting Perillo in her camp, you know, like I said, to polish up her hands, you know, because Dern, she's been one of those fighters that wants to use her hands and learn how to score KOs. So now that she has Perillo in her camp, that's a blessing to her, you know, because it's something that she wants to do, and having Perillo in there and sharpen her up, that's a good combination. You know, great striking coach, great boxing coach, matched with somebody who wants to strike and box. You know, that's going to be a good thing for her. You know, it's going to help her with her punch placement and her punch selection, and it's going to make her a bit more educated whenever she wants to score those big right hands. You know, and I think the striking is going to help her with her takedowns. That's something she talked about in her interview. You know, she was like, you know, I like to take fights to the ground, but, you know, the striking, my coach told me that it's going to help me, you know, get those takedowns, which is true. But one of the things that she needs to really bridge that gap is that wrestling and that clinch control. You know, that's a part where she needs to work on, you know, to get to that stage which she really likes, you know, the ground, the ground. So that's something else that I want to see her kind of bridge that gap to become more of a complete fighter. Marina Rodriguez, you know, fighter that's known for her stand up. I think, you know, that she's also making the right selections. You know, she's sharpening her new tools and her dull tools. You know, she's trying to keep that fight where she wants it. You know, that's her game plan, you know, to keep it where she wants it. Like she said in her interview, they are taking a different approach here, but they are really working on some things. And that's why she wanted this full camp, you know, to really get a chance to work. And I think to earn respect in this fight, she is going to have to come in there with something different. You know, that element of surprise. You know, that element of surprise is something that Rodriguez needs. You know, she needs to go in there, get the respect early with the quickness, kind of like Valentina Shevchenko does. You know, Rodriguez, I think she has that ability to keep this fight standing and pick her opponents apart. You know, even a fighter like a Mackenzie Dern, because if she commits to having that strong foundation and that quick cobra counter, like the bullet, you know, Rodriguez, she could really earn the respect early on and maybe even get a knockout. You know, so I think she really needs to maintain her balance and her coordination in this fight. Make sure that her physical strength and her takedown defense is on 100. You know, making sure it's on 100 like Wmma, Valentina. You know, you got to make sure that scramble is right. You know, that point when you get taken down, you got to scramble back up, get to the fence, stay on your balance. If you know, one leg gets caught, you got to bounce to the fence and, you know, maintain balance and break. You know, so that's something that I hope that she's kind of bridging together and moving into this fight, because I really want to see a good fight between these two. I know everyone said that she needs to perfect her ground game. In time, she does, but this is a fight with Dern, and when you mention Mackenzie Dern in the ground, that's just like, come on, that's legendary status right there. So I think Marina Rodriguez really needs to just make sure that her takedown defense is on point and really focus on that in camp, because you're not going to get great overnight on the ground, especially going against Mackenzie Dern. I think every fighter and fan, they know that Rodriguez, that's her weakness. So, a lot of people feel like, hey, her main focus should be full control of the center of the octagon with her stand-up, Bridging the gap, though, man, like I said, it's a major key here for both fighters. I think this is what's going to separate them from each other going into this fight. Whoever can execute first. This can't just be a fight where we see the same two fighters, the same predictable motions where Marina Rodriguez gets taken down, gets mauled, but eventually gets back up, scores a big knockout. Or Dern running around throwing sloppy shots, then somehow winds up on the ground and then gets a submission. It can't be like that. This fight has to be an improvement from both fighters, where we have to see secondary tools and maybe even a third tool. Like I said, plan A, B, and C might be needed in this fight, because that's what you're going to need to prove that you're an elite fighter. As you move up this ladder to beat the Whaley's and the Roses and the Joannas, there has to be more elements to your game, not just what you're known for. You have to put on that masterpiece and show those improvements, man. So I just said, like, to get to that elite status, that title challenge, got to be dominant. Like I've been saying over the past few weeks, you got to be dominant as you move up this ladder, especially this being a 5-round fight. I know some people feel like, hey, this fight might not go the distance, which I've been saying as well, but knowing that this is a 5-round fight, you might want to already go in there with the mindset that I can kind of pace this thing out and maybe have a couple of feel out rounds just to kind of come up with a good strategy. You know what I mean? Especially for a stand-up fighter like Marina Rodriguez that knows she doesn't have really much of a ground game. She might want to have some good feel out rounds and just kind of come up with that strategy to kind of take Mackenzie Dern into deep waters. So it's good to have that strategy going into a fight with that's 25 minutes this time. So if you ask me though, when it comes down to it, who has a better chance of showing their newly added tools, or who has been showing more of a plan B and a secondary weapon going moving forward and going into this fight? If you ask me, of course this isn't my prediction, but early on I will have to say Mackenzie Dern has been showing that, that next level. She has been showing that next level. I mean, Marina Rodriguez, don't get me wrong, she does have a great resume and she does have a solid style that she's really, really committed to. But what I've been seeing from Mackenzie Dern, I have been seeing her showing quite a few signs of putting the pieces together. I definitely think that she's got a grasp on how important it is to develop other skills, because she likes to use her hands. And in order to get them right, in order to develop her boxing and striking, she linked up with Jason Perillo. Again, that's what you got to do if you want to get polished up in something that you think you really need. So she knows that to get the fights to the ground, that's something she's going to need. So that's good improvements made in her last two fights. You can see a big difference from her last two fights versus her first two UFC fights. But that's not to say Marina Rodriguez isn't working either. I think she is also working. I think she has a plan B as well. I think Mackenzie Dern is much more visual, where we just been seeing it more, but I think Marina Rodriguez has something as well. I think her takedown defense, she's working on it, because that takedown defense is an art. It's an art as well, and that's something you do have to master. And I think that's something they've been working on in camp, because she did say that they're taking a different approach to this fight. So I think they have been working. They've been working on the jab, working on the power shots, and just working on controlling the fight in the center of the octagon. But yeah, I think Rodriguez, she's definitely coming up with a plan B. Not necessarily like a fight plan for the fight, but you know what I mean, like a plan B just in case her striking doesn't work. Just to bridge that gap, like I was saying. But yeah, that's what I think, though. I think Dern's is the more obvious, but you can never count out Marina Rodriguez, because for a fighter that's been put on her back a lot in fights, she's never been submitted. She's lost to Carla Esparza, but she's still never been submitted in her career, right? So, hey, that still says a lot about her. I mean, I know as you go up the ladder, you can be in more and more trouble, but she's been doing well right now, and I hope that when she goes in her camp, or hopefully when they win in camp, you know, they worked on everything they needed to, and I hope that everything shows come fight night, because I'm looking forward to a good fight. But yeah, my prediction isn't in this video, you know, but I'll give y'all my prediction in a couple hours. You know, let me just drop this video because this was just a question that kind of popped in my mind. You know, I know I asked y'all this before, and this is just something I just kind of want to drop a quick discussion video as I was making a move here. And yeah, I'll come back on and drop my breakdown prediction. The full-on prediction is coming later tonight. But until then, you know, I just had this on my mind. Let me know, guys, what y'all think. Who has the better plan B going into this fight? Like, who do you think is really piecing it together and becoming close to a complete fighter? You know, I know it's still early to tell, but who do you got when it comes down to that? Dern or Rodriguez? Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.